thought, this is fantastic, this concept. Yes, democratizing wealth. What's that all about? How are we going to promote it? And what does it mean? Who can own it?
Yeah. Passion, inspiration, determination. Are you ready to jump into a better life? Welcome to our program, Jump Into It. Welcome to our show. And today we have our guest, Katherine Surgenor, and she is an amazing business leader. She was a senior partner at Ogilvy, one of the global marketing agencies of our time. And she's here to discuss with us women, wealth, the wallet, and cryptocurrency. And this is something that is a question for many women. What is cryptocurrency? Can it lead us to more financial independence? How do we get to learn more about it? How do we benefit from it? And Katherine is going to walk through many of these unknown, mysterious questions that a lot of women have, and also to raise awareness around women's need for financial independence. It is achievable, and sometimes it's just a mindset. So, Katherine, welcome to Jump Into It.
Good morning, Gabrielle. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and happy to share my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, answer any questions, and just have a good time.
Fantastic. So maybe you can get started with just a little bit about yourself and journey and how you got into being so passionate about cryptocurrency and why this has become your mission.
Well, it's evolution has been part of my life, my career from day one. What I wanted to do when I was in when I finished university never happened. I was blessed to get into advertising and stayed there for the majority of my career. I've had a great career, and I still consider myself a marketer. That's never going to change.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And if it wasn't for my advertising career that exposed me as I ran the IBM business and Microsoft businesses as the leads in Canada at two different global agencies, if it wasn't for being exposed to technology and where the future was going and things like artificial intelligence and blockchain, I wouldn't have fallen into cryptocurrency, which of course is inextricably linked to blockchain. So my advertising career did that for me. It allowed me to explore areas that I thought, what's going on? I've always been interested in technology, and that's my specialty. Very quickly, though, because of COVID and a personal situation with my parents in Europe, an emergency, those two aligned, and next thing you know, the world shut down, not only for me, but for everybody.
Right.
So I spent some time educating myself on those things, AI, blockchain, and what is this? What is this cryptocurrency thing? And how does it work? And so during COVID, it was a great opportunity to actually hunker down and learn more about the things that were interesting me. And in that time frame, just as we were coming out of COVID, someone found me, a US company found me and offered me a job to work remotely, promoting believe it or not, an online show that was all about empowering people to own different pieces of companies, basically democratizing wealth is what this show was about. And Steve Wozniak was on it, and the former treasurer, head of the Treasury of the United States was on this. It's an online show. And I thought, this is fantastic, this concept. Yes, democratizing wealth. What's that all about? And so what ended up starting as, let's see how we can promote this show and this concept, this same company created a token in cryptocurrency, and I helped launch that. And so next thing you know, this evolution, right? It's like one thing begets another, and here I am now. So I was completely fascinated by the technology behind it and what it means for people. It's like, wow, we can just create a token on the blockchain. Interesting. How are we going to do this? How are we going to promote it? And what does it mean? Who can own it? Yeah.
Money is tangible. Tangible dollar bills and coins are disappearing.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is electronic. Well, you're still able to understand that part of it, right? Because it's, you're still seeing the money move into your bank account. But this token thing,
Yeah.
which is a different unit and it's traded or exchanged differently, how
Right.
does that translate to matching back to that dollar that we're all so familiar with in measuring money?
Well, it's interesting what's happened, and it's an evolution. And, credit to Canada for being a first in many in this industry, in this ecosystem, this cryptocurrency ecosystem. Because what's interesting about Bitcoin is its own thing, and we can touch on that and how it's actually evolved. There's an interesting thing that's happened in the last 4 years to Bitcoin that I don't know people might not be aware of. And we can touch on that. But when it comes to, yes, understanding money, fiat, right? Like I get it. How are we going to transition? Well, the tokens, let's talk about cryptocurrency tokens. There are
Yeah.
several of them. Um, there are tokens that, people talked about. All the rage a little while ago was, non-fungible tokens, right? Things that if you are on Web3 or on Discord and in that environment in Web3 and you were part of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous kind of organization, you could own a piece of something. I have to be honest, that wasn't for me. A
Mhm.
digital painting that I am
Yeah,
going
right.
to,
Right.
right, to
That
use
could trade
my,
for 5,000, 5 million. Like these were crazy prices for
they
something
were,
that was
they,
virtual.
they were, and it's virtual and I can't touch it. And I'm sorry, I'm old
Yeah.
school. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Although for creative people, right, it's fantastic. It's like, look, you can own a part of it. And now on the blockchain, there is a smart contract like that says Gabrielle actually owns 2% of this painting. And when it goes up in appreciation, she will benefit from that. So back to Canada initially, what they've done is there is actually is a token tied to our currency. And Canada was the
Hmm.
first to do it. It's in pilot. They haven't talked about it in typical Canadian fashion. We don't go out there and say, look what we've done. We were the first to
Hmm.
do an ETF. We were ahead of the game. So there is this connection of you can buy, the US, if you want the US dollar token with US dollars, and the same with Canadian. So that bridges that whole, fearful part. It's like, oh, I'm gonna spend $100, but it's tied to this token, which is tied to my government, and I feel okay about that. Um, so it's an interesting place to be. To your point, we all understand money, and although it is going away, but let's not forget, think about the last time well, maybe I'm dating myself, last time someone got a paycheck, right? Went to the bank and took out money.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in decades. And you
Yeah.
don't think about it, right? And that's what's going to happen to us in a few decades or a decade, where,
Yeah.
do you remember when we talked about this thing and then we're all living cryptocurrency? We're all living on the blockchain and we all are living in a decentralized environment and being comfortable with it. So it's a big evolution.
Because the being decentralized and the democracy, all the great words, right? Like, yeah, I want to be on the bandwagon. The
Yep.
big banks are making billions of dollars,
Mhm.
and they're not sharing in on the profits unless you buy stocks in that company.
Right.
We're actually seeing, people at the mercy of banks and have more heavily in debt than ever before. And they're, and the interest rates are going through the roof in many different ways. So we become a slave to the industry.
Right.
So, this democracy, it sounds great. I'm excited,
Yep.
but, how is that really going to benefit me as opposed to just putting my money in the bank versus buying a token? Like, where is the big wow and how can it help women?
Well, the thing about it is, you've pegged it bang on, Gabrielle. Like, we have the bank, we have the government, we have the bank, the institutions, and they decide everything for us. If I
Right?
can get them, if I apply for a mortgage and the bank says, well, Catherine, let's see what you're all about, right? And what you
Yeah.
have and what you don't have. And we don't like what you have, or you don't have enough
Mhm.
of this, or you owe the CRA money, or what have you. There's
Mhm.
this figure, right? This
Yeah.
centralized organization called the financial industry and the players in there that really dictate what's happening to us, what can happen to us.
Yeah.
The difference in where we're going is the decentralization of the financial industry, or DeFi. I highly recommend people just literally go on to AI and ask, what is DeFi? What is, tell me everything, etc. Because what the difference is, like, let me use this token that this company that I worked for created. The difference is that, let's take it, it's a real estate token. What these guys decided to do was create a token, and people invested their real money, their fiat, into this company
Mhm.
to own a token, to show that no one can change on the blockchain that Catherine bought 500 tokens. And if there are, 1,000 tokens, then I own 50% of whatever this asset is. They chose real estate. So you can't undo that. The thing about the blockchain and cryptocurrency is someone cannot, once it's in and it's locked, someone can't go in and say, oh, well, actually, you know what? Let's say Catherine only owns 50 of these tokens. Can't be done. It's
You can't dilute, you can't like, or split the stocks or
You
split like,
can't change, yeah,
right?
you can't change anything. You can't
Mhm.
change it. So it's and what's interesting is let's talk about women in startups for a second. So you
Yeah.
have women, right? And I have a phenomenal idea. And this is how traditional finance is different from this decentralized model.
Mhm.
I could go with a wonderful idea, whatever it may be. And the bank again is going to go through that checklist, right? Do you have
Yeah.
this? Do you have that? Do you have the other thing? Well, you know what? How long have you been in business? Is this your first idea? Et cetera, et cetera. In the decentralized world, where you are in a environment, let's say there's one called SheFi, SHEFI. SheFi is on a DAO, on a decentralized autonomous, or it's a decentralized autonomous organization. And it's a community of women, women only. So
Oh,
the point is, I could go in, and if you and I are in that community and we're members and we're working on something, I could raise my hand and say, hey, community of women in our little area here, I have a really great idea. And the point is the entire world can participate in this
is
DAO.
it kind of like crowdfunding? Is it?
Exactly, exactly. You've got
Okay.
the
Yeah.
whole, it's exactly like that, right? But what's different is you're not going to have potentially the Canadian government saying, no, you can't contribute to that fund.
Or we're going to freeze it,
We're
right?
going to
We
freeze it,
saw that too. We don't
right?
like your idea. We're going to freeze your bank accounts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can't do that in this
Mhm.
environment.
Mhm.
You come to me and you say, you know what, Catherine, I have a phenomenal idea, et cetera, et cetera. And, you put out the feelers and you work through it, and people decide, they vote. In this environment, people vote. It's a democracy. People vote and think, that's a really great idea. Hey, gals, should we get behind Gabrielle's idea? That's pretty cool. I think I'm going to put in this much or that much, et cetera. And you don't have to rely on sitting opposite a bank manager, regardless of gender, male, female, regardless of age, and say, hi, can I have some money, please? It's not necessary in this environment. And there's going to be more and more of that, which is
Wow.
great,
Wow, that's
which is great.
exciting. So just because I'm still thinking in the old world,
Yep.
is that the crowdfunding, but now it's going to be through DOO, is that right?
DAO, a
DAO?
decentralized autonomous organization. So each the acronym works beautifully. It explains what it is, which is it's a decentralized model. There is no head honcho. It's autonomous. Each person is independent to contribute, not contribute, voice their opinion. And it is an organization. It is organized within the confines of where we are right now on Web3, actually.
So so autonomous means also that you don't know who these people are. They're just a number, or they're just like a code or something. They're not sharing their personal information
You
when they're
mean in this environment or
in
when
this
you're
environment.
crowdfunding? Well, actually, you with I know with a couple of the female organizations, you actually your transaction can't be seen by anybody, but it's not invisible. These are folks like, for instance, just last week I found one. It's called BFF, and again, bunch of women getting together.
Yeah. Interesting.
And
Okay.
you ask to be invited, right? And so they will decide, hey, this looks, oh yeah, you know what? We need a marketer. Let's have Katherine join us. So it's yes, the financial transactions, no one can go in and see, or do anything with them. But the fact that they do know who you are, if you choose to create a DAO on
Mhm.
Web3 to do this with someone, with a group of women.
So if you come up with this amazing idea and I want to fund it,
Mhm.
then how am I compensated? How does that you know, if your business idea explodes
Mhm.
and I've kind of bought into it with, I've invested in it through cryptocurrency or a token,
Mhm.
how am I, like what have I actually bought here? Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like if I have a house
Mhm.
and I secure, with a bank, they secure a mortgage against my house so that they
Right.
have right? It's tied to an asset that's physical on this planet,
Right.
as opposed to, this virtual space. And
Yeah.
do you know what I'm trying to, how
Yeah,
does that all link together?
absolutely.
So,
No,
yeah.
absolutely. So in the virtual space, and this is why I'd said early on, I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of NFTs. Again, if I can't wrap my head around what I actually own, I'm not interested. So, but there are
Mhm.
some people who, like I said, there are people that thrive in this space. So I'll give you an example. If you're a songwriter and you wrote a song, and you're part of, this creative community in Web3 where you say, you know what, I want to do an album, and whoever wants to contribute, let me know. I would love that. You can take a piece of the profits when, let's say, Sony Music makes me a star, what have you.
Yeah.
Again, what it is that it doesn't seem tangible, but what happens is once you decide to contribute in fiat or cryptocurrency, because both happen, um, a smart contract that no one can change is created and saved on the blockchain, which is a decentralized ledger. So it will all be connected together. But let's look at real estate because that's the one I love and I think
Mhm.
can
Okay.
can
Yeah.
can benefit from. So if someone says I have 1 million tokens, and well, actually, I will give you the real life example. This is
Okay.
actually
Fabulous.
that's happened. Here's the real life example. This particular company called Unicoin, they have not gone and done an initial coin offering yet. They're waiting to see what Trump does in the United States.
Mm.
But they are from day one, they got over 4,000 people who contributed to buy their token. And this is, of course, not on an exchange yet, and that's what they're waiting to do. But they did that. And because in the United States, if you have a certain number, I think it's over 3,000 shareholders or people who are investors, excuse me, you have to register with a SEC. And every quarter, you have to comply and give them your numbers. Doesn't matter that you're not on an exchange. Just the sheer numbers of shareholders you have or token holders, it's mandatory. It's part of the SEC. So they have been compliant all along from day one. Their lawyer files it every quarter. You can know what they're doing. And so when they shifted from doing this democratization show, which is a lot like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, and they decided, you know what, we're gonna do this. This is the future. What happened is they were able to worked on the marketing with them to promote this token, to say this token with every dollar you put in represents actual shares in this hotel in the Philippines. And so when that hotel makes money, so do you. So there's an actual asset tied to this token that is registered with smart contracts on the blockchain that is reported to the SEC. So it's a completely different way of doing things, but I find that the real estate token idea, it resonated with me. And I think when you and I spoke the very first time, you said, how did you even think, like, why did you do this? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, must have not been able to go in on their own. And in the past, things have changed a lot in my lifetime, but haven't been able to just go in and get a mortgage and buy a house. My sons, both of them tell me, how am I supposed to own anything in this world, right? And so the idea of a token backed by real world assets that are reported to the SEC, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool because it gives you transparency, because we have seen the cryptocurrency like the casino.
Right.
Right, it goes up, it goes down. People become instant millionaires, where it's like the toga is 0.0001 cent, and then it's 2 cents, and they're instant millionaires if they bought so many of them.
Right.
And then the next day it goes down again.
Right. And it's interesting. Those situations actually, that's what media is for, right? To hype all of this up, because in reality, you'd be surprised. The way that, let's talk about Bitcoin for a second, where Bitcoin is, it's up on the rise again. Like, it's like, oh my goodness, this roller coaster. But it's really, honestly, Gabrielle, it's no different than the stock exchange, right? It really, truly isn't. It comes in waves, and things happen in the world and people freak out and people pull out their money because it's like, oh, I don't know if it's going to go any higher. And when that happens, guess what? It drops. It really is, because people are behind traditional stocks and finance, and humans are behind this iteration of where we are with finance. It's going to be the same kind of mentality. But you have to remember that those things that were 0.000001 cent, and you bought 9 million shares.
Right. Yes.
Those rarely, very rarely, the percentage of those doing well is astronomical. And, I don't advise people to play in that space. Again, not an expert, but I'm looking at tried and true things that I understand in a simple way as the natural evolution of where we're going. Because it's interesting when I look at the targets, when I look at the buckets of people, the research, I did some research and there's a great paper about women actually in this space by the Boston Consulting Group. But when you look at who's in this space, there's the young, geeky guys, the techie guys, right, who just love this. And they're playing in those, things like the fart coin and, Dogecoin and those cryptocurrencies where, frankly, it's fun to play. It's a game. For me, I'm not
Yeah.
interested in it.
Like another video game for them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
love it and they play it and they do these
Yeah.
things called pump and dump on the internet, right? They
Yeah,
sit,
I've heard that term
right?
too.
So
Yeah.
what they do is like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the greatest thing, and they hype it up and they
Yeah.
get all these people excited about it. They go on TikTok, they go on to X,
Twitter.
right? And they sit there
Yeah.
and they talk about how great it is, and people get excited and think, oh, it's that fear of
Okay.
missing out. Oh, I got to be part of this, and then they jack up the price to whatever. Well, they benefit from it because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, once they've made their money, what are they going to do? They're going to cash out the dump
Right.
part, and you're left with, well, where did my money go? That's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anybody doing that. I want my sons doing that.
Mhm.
But that's one group, right? There's
Mhm.
those young, savvy
Yeah.
guys, which is great. And some of them have become millionaires. Fantastic. Good for them. Then
Yeah.
there's a group, and I think you and I talked about it when we first met, about, believe it or not, there's this group of women, smart women, who are in this space right now. And they're who they are? They're the teachers, they're the nurses, they're the professionals, but then again, these are people who have pension funds and understand this world. So this for them is natural evolution. So they're in this space too. That's a second target I found fascinating. The third one, um, the third target, and who's making the money, these men over 60 who
Yeah.
understand this and go,
Yeah.
aha, all over it. I'm going to put 100 grand into this because they have it. And that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And then there's bucket number four, all the rest of us.
Mhm.
And that's who I'm advocating for. That's who I want to educate. That's why I wanted to write my ebook with title still to be determined.
Okay.
Um, I do have a title. I do have a title, but
Okay. Well, when you get it, we can put it on the
yeah, for
podcast
sure.
description. Okay.
So yeah, so as I said, I that's where I want to play. That's where I want to help people. That's where I think people in that last bucket, all genders, all races, all countries, all people in the world. This is moving, and you don't want to get left behind, because very much like when we all went from paychecks to direct deposit to ATMs to transferring e-transfer, when did this happen? Like, when you think about it, my mom looks at me, she's 87, and said, what has happened in my lifetime? And it's like, yeah, mom, right? And there's more to come.
Right. Like it was a big thing when ATMs just opened up, right? And it's like, oh, I don't go to the teller anymore. I go to an
Right.
ATM. Oh, I was nervous. I
Yeah.
need this card, and now look at it's all online banking. I mean, I did marketing for a bank, and it was all pushing them away from the ATMs and the banks and the
Yeah.
bricks and mortars to everybody going online because it's
Right.
just a cheap way of servicing.
Exactly. And that's where we're at. And this is the next phase, but it's moving very quickly. That's what's really, really challenging. It's moving very quickly because everyone has a say, because anyone can start a decentralized autonomous organization. I could, you could, by going into, playing in the Web3 space, which is different than where we are right now with the internet. Um, Anyone in the world can start anything at any time with anyone.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
so where do you see in the next 5 years this evolving?
I I actually see, and I'm very confident, this is just my prediction. I believe that in the next 5 years, and it's actually frightening to me,
Mhm.
because when you think about tech, and when I used to, like, work on IBM and look at what they were doing and what was coming, and it didn't matter if we didn't get a campaign out within a 6-month period, it didn't matter the technology change. We couldn't even promote whatever we were promoting. And that was in 6-month intervals. It's interesting because we are going so super fast now that even as writing as I was writing this book, I thought, well, that's not even valid anymore. So I have to edit it because it was valid a month ago. And it's
Yeah.
not anymore because this, this organization or this group or this individual who I thought was, oh, okay, well, yeah, toast. We're in a complete, like, it keeps moving so quickly. So the good thing is we are in a world where women, and I'm so grateful that this is what's happened, is you would think that women aren't playing in this space, but they are. And I foresee more women recognizing that they can take ownership of their lives, that they are empowered, and will probably create all types of decentralized organizations online. The women who are 18 to 23 now in 5 years are going to be, 23 to 28 and really, moving forward. These are people, younger women who grew up with tablets and the internet